The battlefield was silent, but the silence was heavy. Smoke curled from the wreckage of alien ships, and the ground was littered with broken weapons and scorched earth. The air smelled of fire and metal, a reminder of the fierce fighting that had taken place here just hours before. Amid the destruction, a lone figure moved carefully, scanning the area. He was a human, known among his people for his courage and his willingness to help others no matter the danger. Today, he was not looking for humans, but for something much stranger and much more dangerous. In the distance, a low, painful growl echoed across the battlefield. The human froze, his heart beating faster. It was not the sound of an ordinary animal. He knew it immediately. Something alive was struggling, and it was enormous. Slowly, he moved closer, keeping low behind shattered walls and twisted metal. As he drew near, he saw it. A massive alien beast lay on the ground, its body covered in deep gashes and burns. Its skin was a strange mix of colors, and its claws were enormous, tipped with sharp points. One of its legs was bent at an impossible angle, and its chest rose and fell with shallow, painful breaths. Most of the other humans had already left, too afraid to approach. The alien had fought on the side of the enemy, and stories of its strength and deadly attacks had spread fear. But the human looked at it and saw something else. He saw suffering, pain, and vulnerability. He saw life, and life meant a chance to help, no matter the risk. He took a deep breath and stepped closer. The alien's head lifted slowly, and its glowing eyes locked on him. There was a mixture of rage and fear in them. The human stopped a few feet away, keeping his hands visible. He spoke softly, even though he knew the alien probably could not understand his words. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "I just want to help." The alien growled, a deep, guttural sound that shook the ground slightly. It struggled to rise but failed, sinking back to the ground with a grunt of pain. The human's heart pounded, but he did not step back. Instead, he reached for his first aid kit, carefully opening it and checking the contents. He had only basic supplies, but they might be enough to stop the bleeding and clean the wounds. As he worked, he could feel the alien's eyes watching him. Every movement was cautious, every touch carefully measured. The human's hands were steady, his focus entirely on the creature in front of him. He cleaned one of the deeper gashes along its side, using a strip of cloth to stop the bleeding. The alien flinched and growled, but it did not attack. The human whispered words of reassurance, trying to convey calm and safety. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. Every minute was a test, every breath a gamble. If the alien decided to lash out, the human could be seriously injured or worse. But he did not falter. Slowly, carefully, he worked to stabilize the creature. He cleaned the burns, wrapped the wounds, and applied a pain-relieving ointment scavenged from his supplies that other humans had gathered at a distance, watching with disbelief and fear. They shouted warnings, telling him to leave the beast alone. "It's dangerous. You'll die," they cried, but he ignored them. Fear had never guided his decisions before, and it would not guide them now. He could see intelligence in the alien's eyes, and he believed that any life deserved a chance. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The alien's breathing grew steadier, and for the first time, it did not flinch at his touch. There was a strange understanding forming between them, an unspoken agreement that neither would harm the other. The human finally allowed himself a brief moment of relief, though he knew the danger was far from over. He looked around the battlefield, noticing the silence in a new way. The roar of battle was gone, replaced by the quiet pain of a creature left to die. It was a reminder of what had happened, and of what could still happen. But as he looked at the alien, he felt a sense of purpose stronger than fear. He had chosen to act when others would not, to see life when others saw only a monster. And in That quiet, ruined place, a bond began to form, one born of courage, compassion, and the willingness to face fear for the sake of another being. The human knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but he was ready. Whatever came next, he would not abandon the alien. Not now, not ever. The human sat a few feet away from the alien, his hands still slightly trembling from the adrenaline of the battlefield. He had managed to stop most of the bleeding, but the alien was far from safe. Its breathing was shallow, and it shifted every few moments as if trying to find comfort on the broken ground. Despite the danger, he could not leave. Something inside him demanded that he stay, that he help this wounded creature, even if it meant risking his own life. He took a careful look at the alien's body. Its size was enormous, far bigger than any human, and every inch of it told a story of battle and pain. Deep gashes ran across its thick hide, and scorch marks from energy blasts left blackened streaks. Its eyes, which glowed faintly in the dim light, tracked his every movement. There was anger there, fear too, but beneath it, the human thought. He could see something else: confusion, maybe even a kind of intelligence. The human spoke softly again. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I just want to help you survive." He slowly pulled out some more supplies, careful to make his movements smooth and predictable. The alien growled low in its throat, a warning, but it did not lunge. That small act of restraint gave the human hope. He started with the worst injuries first. A deep cut along the alien's leg had become infected, and he cleaned it with water he had brought in a small container. The alien tensed, letting out a low, painful noise, but he held steady. He wrapped the wound as best as he could, knowing that it was only a temporary solution. Every touch required patience. One wrong move, and the alien could attack. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, it began to relax. Other humans lingered at a distance, shouting warnings and shaking their heads. "You're crazy. That thing could kill you in a second." One of them yelled. The human ignored them. He had faced death many times, but never like this. Here he was not just fighting for his life. He was fighting for another being who had no one else to care for it. Hours passed. The sun sank lower in the sky, painting the battlefield in shades of orange and gray. The human had used everything in his kit to care for the alien, but he knew more was needed. He started talking to it, even though he wasn't sure it understood. "I know it hurts," he said gently. "I know you're scared, but I won't leave you." Slowly, the alien began to respond. It moved slightly closer to him, lowering its head in a gesture that the human interpreted as acceptance. The growls became less frequent, replaced by low, almost hesitant sounds. The human realized that trust was forming. This massive creature, once feared by everyone, was beginning to allow someone to help it. He kept talking to it, his voice calm and steady. He brushed away dirt and debris from its wounds, and even though the alien flinched sometimes, it no longer tried to attack. The human felt a strange bond forming, one that went beyond words. He began to see the alien not as a weapon or a monster, but as a living creature with pain, fear, and intelligence. Night fell, and the temperature dropped. The human knew he could not stay on the battlefield forever, but leaving the alien alone in this condition was unthinkable. He decided to create a small shelter using scraps of metal and debris from the wreckage. Carefully, he helped the alien move to the safer spot, using slow, deliberate movements to avoid startling it. The alien followed, surprisingly compliant, as if understanding that the human meant no harm. Once the makeshift shelter was ready, the human gave the alien some water. It drank cautiously, glancing at him between sips. He could see exhaustion in its eyes, but also a growing recognition that this human was different from the others who had only tried to kill or avoid it. He felt a small sense of relief. For now, the alien was safe, and the immediate danger had passed. He sat beside the alien through the night, keeping watch. Every sound, the rustling of debris, distant cries, and the soft moans of injured beings, kept him alert. He knew the battlefield could still hold dangers, but he also knew he had done the right thing. He had chosen compassion over fear, life over safety. As he drifted into brief moments of rest, the alien shifted slightly, pressing its massive head closer to him. The human felt its warmth, and for the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future where this creature might survive. He did not know how, or what would happen next, but he knew one thing clearly. He would not abandon it. Not now, not ever. The night passed slowly, and when the first light of dawn broke over the ruined battlefield, the alien looked stronger. Its breathing was steadier, and its eyes, though still cautious, held less anger. The human smiled faintly, feeling a surge of hope. He had taken a great risk, but it was paying off. He had faced fear and danger, and in return, he had earned something precious. Trust. By the time the sun rose fully, the alien had moved closer to him, resting its enormous head on the human's lap. He stroked its rough skin gently, marveling at the fragile strength of life, even in the midst of destruction. Around them, the battlefield remained silent and empty, but in this small corner, life had begun to recover. The human knew the days ahead would be even harder. Healing this alien completely, moving it to a safer place, and avoiding others who might see it as a threat would not be easy. But for now, he had made the first step. He had chosen to help when everyone else had walked away. And in that act, he had found a new purpose, one that would guide him through every danger yet to come. As he sat there, watching the alien slowly regain its strength, he understood something important. Courage was not just about facing enemies or surviving battles. It was about doing the right thing, even when it was frightening. And compassion could form bonds stronger than fear, even between the most unlikely beings. The human woke to the faint light of dawn, filtering through the ruins around him. The battlefield, once chaotic and alive with the sounds of combat, was quiet now. The alien lay near him, breathing steadily, though still clearly weak. The human could see the intelligence in its eyes, the way it watched him, analyzing his every move. There was still fear in those eyes, but there was also a growing awareness that this human was different from the others who had tried to kill it. He moved carefully, checking the alien's wounds again. Its leg had swollen slightly, and some of the gashes still oozed. He cleaned them gently, using the limited supplies he had. The alien flinched at first, a low growl escaping from its throat, but it did not strike. That small sign of trust was enough to encourage the human. He spoke softly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help." The alien shifted slightly closer, almost as if testing the human's patience and intentions. Every movement had to be deliberate and calm. If the human made a sudden motion, the alien could lash out instinctively. But the human remained steady, keeping his eyes locked on the alien, communicating through gestures and tone more than words. He began to understand its behavior, learning which movements made it anxious and which reassured it. The sun rose higher, and the battlefield warmed under its light. The human realized that he could not stay in one spot forever. Others might return, and if they saw the alien, they would see only a threat. Yet he could not leave it here. He needed a plan. Slowly, carefully, he began to build a makeshift shelter using the wreckage around them. Twisted metal and pieces of destroyed vehicles were arranged to give the alien some protection from the elements and prying eyes. The alien watched him closely, tilting its massive head as it observed every action. It did not attack, though there was tension in its posture. The human understood that he was earning its trust bit by bit. Trust, he realized, could not be rushed. It had to be given and received carefully. like a fragile thread being woven between two very different beings. As the hours passed, the alien began to make small gestures of acceptance. It allowed the human to touch areas he had avoided before. Its breathing grew more even, and it no longer flinched at every movement. Occasionally, it would look at him with what seemed like curiosity, tilting its head or moving a limb slightly to test him. Each time it did, the human responded with calm reassurance, speaking softly and making slow gestures to indicate peace. Other humans occasionally appeared on the edges of the battlefield, watching from a distance. Some shouted warnings, cautioning him to abandon the alien. "You're risking your life. That thing could tear you apart." They yelled. The human ignored them. He knew what he had chosen. Courage was not just about fighting enemies. It was about standing by life when it needed him most. He could see the intelligence and vulnerability in the alien, and he could not walk away. As the day wore on, the alien's energy began to return in small increments. It stood briefly, testing its strength, and then lowered itself back down with a grunt of effort. The human helped where he could, supporting its movements and guiding it carefully to avoid further injury. The alien allowed him to touch its wounds more confidently now, and even responded to his voice with soft noises that hinted at recognition. By late afternoon, a small rhythm had formed between them. The human tended to the alien's injuries, brought it water, and kept it safe from the harsh environment. The alien, in return, followed his movements, watched him intently, and began to anticipate his actions. There was an unspoken understanding growing between them. A fragile bond formed in the quiet moments between danger and care. The sun began to dip, and shadows stretched across the battlefield. The human knew that the night would be another challenge. Darkness could hide dangers, and the alien, though calmer now, could still react unpredictably. He carefully led it into the shelter he had built, making sure it was comfortable and protected. He spoke gently. "You're safe for now. Rest. We'll figure out the next steps together." The alien's head rested near him, and for the first time, the human felt a sense of peace amidst the chaos. He knew this peace was temporary. Others might return, and survival here was far from guaranteed. Yet in that moment, he felt the connection they had built, a bond forged from trust, courage, and compassion. He could see that the alien was starting to trust him in a way no one else ever had. Night fell completely, and the human remained alert. Every noise made him tense, ready to react, but he also kept one hand on the alien, a gesture of reassurance for both of them. The alien stayed quiet, its body pressed close, breathing evenly. It seemed to understand that the human was not just a caretaker, but an ally, someone willing to face danger for its sake. Hours passed slowly. The alien occasionally made soft noises, almost as if communicating, but the human did not need to understand them fully. He understood the meaning behind the sounds, acknowledgement, perhaps even gratitude. He responded in his own way, speaking softly and moving calmly. In the silence of the night, a mutual respect had grown two beings from completely different worlds, finding understanding through shared vulnerability. As dawn approached again, the alien seemed stronger. It stood, testing its legs, then moved closer to the human. The human smiled faintly. He knew the journey ahead would be dangerous, but he also knew that this creature had begun to trust him. Trust was a fragile thing, but it was powerful. It could overcome fear, violence, and even instinctive aggression. By morning, the alien had learned to follow the human's gentle guidance. It did not leap or strike when he moved nearby. It allowed him to tend to wounds with less resistance. There was a sense of rhythm now, a silent cooperation born of necessity and care. The human realized that in helping this creature survive, he had also discovered something about himself. Courage was not just facing enemies. It was facing fear with compassion. Compassion could create bonds where none seemed possible. The battlefield around them remained silent and broken, but in their small corner, life was beginning to recover. The human knew he would need to find a safer place, a way to continue healing the alien without exposure to others who might see it as a threat. Yet he felt confident. They had formed a connection that could not be broken easily. He looked into the alien's eyes, seeing a spark of awareness, a recognition that transcended species and fear. They had survived the first trials together. They had faced danger and uncertainty, and through patience and trust, they had begun to heal, both physically and emotionally. The human stood slowly, stretching his tired muscles. "We'll need to move soon," he said softly, "but we'll do it together. I won't leave you." The alien made a low sound in response, almost like a promise. For the first time, the human felt certain that they were more than just a human and a wounded creature. They were allies, partners in survival, bound by a choice to trust and protect each other. As the sun rose fully, casting light over the battlefield, the human packed what little supplies he had, preparing for the next stage of their journey. The alien watched him closely, ready to follow, ready to trust. In that moment, the human realized that fear had not been conquered through weapons or strength, but through compassion and courage. And together, they were stronger than either could be alone. The human knew that staying on the battlefield was no longer safe. Even though the alien had grown calmer and trust had formed between them, the ruins around them were still dangerous. Other humans, or worse, enemy patrols, could return at any moment. The human packed a small bag with the few supplies he had: water, food scraps, bandages, and some tools that might help during the journey. He looked at the alien, which was watching him closely, its massive head tilted slightly, as if understanding the plan. "Ready?" the human asked softly. The alien made a low sound in response, a mixture of acknowledgement and caution. Slowly and carefully, he led the alien through the broken battlefield. Every step had to be cautious. The alien's movements were heavy and slow, its body still weak from the injuries. The human kept one hand near the alien's side, ready to intervene if it stumbled. As they moved, the human thought about how strange the situation was. On any other day, he might have run in the opposite direction, fleeing from a creature that could kill him without a second thought. But now, after days of caring for it, after seeing the pain and intelligence in its eyes, he felt something deeper, a bond he could not ignore. This alien was no longer just a wounded enemy. It was a companion, a being whose life was now tied to his own. They moved slowly through the rubble and twisted metal, navigating around craters and scorched earth. Occasionally, the alien would flinch at sudden noises, the wind shaking debris, distant footsteps, or the howl of a creature in the distance. The human would place a hand on its side, calming it with gentle pressure and soft words. Over time, the alien learned to trust his presence. Even in moments of fear, the human spotted a small path through the ruins that led toward a more sheltered area. It was risky, but it offered the chance for cover and safety. He motioned for the alien to follow, using slow, deliberate gestures. The alien moved cautiously, every step careful and precise. He noticed that it seemed to be observing him as much as he was observing it, learning his habits, predicting his movements. A strange sort of understanding had formed between them. Hours passed as they made their way to the safer spot. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the battlefield. The human could feel the tension building. The alien's body was still weak, and night would bring new dangers. He needed to find shelter before darkness fully fell. He spotted a partially collapsed structure, a shell of a building that had survived the fighting. It offered walls on 3 sides and a roof that could provide protection from both the elements and prying eyes. He guided the alien inside carefully. Its massive body barely fit, and the floor shook under its weight. The human arranged debris and broken furniture to create a small corner where the alien could rest safely. He laid down blankets and scraps of cloth, making the best makeshift bedding he could manage. The alien lay down slowly, testing the comfort of the area before finally settling. The human sat beside it, feeling the warmth of its body and the subtle rise and fall of its breathing. Night brought new challenges. Sounds from distant creatures and falling debris made the alien tense. The human stayed alert, watching for any signs of danger. He spoke softly to the alien, his voice steady and calm. "You're safe now. I won't leave you." The alien shifted closer, pressing its side lightly against him. It was a small gesture, but it meant that trust had grown deeper. The human felt a quiet pride. They had survived so far, and their bond was stronger because of it. While they rested, the human thought about the future. He knew the alien needed more care than he could provide here. Moving to a truly safe place was necessary, but it would not be easy. The alien's injuries limited its mobility, and other humans might see them as a threat. He would have to be clever, cautious, and patient. But he felt ready. They had already overcome so much together. He believed they could do it again. That morning came, and the alien was slightly stronger. It stood on shaky legs, testing its strength. The human encouraged it softly, helping it maintain balance and guiding it gently. They needed to move again, but this time the human wanted to go slowly, allowing the alien to regain strength bit by bit. Each step was a small victory, proof that trust and care could overcome fear and weakness. As they traveled, they encountered remnants of the battlefield, burned-out vehicles, shattered structures, and debris scattered everywhere. The human had to lead the alien carefully, avoiding sharp objects and unstable ground. The alien seemed to sense his intentions, adjusting its movements to follow his guidance. There was an almost unspoken teamwork forming between them. Hours later, they reached a small ridge that overlooked a valley below. From here, the human could see a safer area where the alien could rest without being exposed. The valley was covered in thick brush and trees, providing natural cover. He turned to the alien, gesturing for it to follow him down carefully. The alien hesitated, its large eyes scanning the surroundings. The human spoke calmly. "It's okay. Stay close to me. We'll be safe there." Slowly, carefully, they descended the ridge. The alien followed his lead, moving cautiously but steadily. Every few minutes, it would pause, testing the ground and its own strength. The human stayed beside it, offering gentle encouragement. Their pace was slow, but each step brought them closer to safety. Once in the valley, the human guided the alien to a small clearing surrounded by thick trees and brush. It was far from ideal, but it offered protection from sight and danger. He helped the alien lie down, arranging more makeshift bedding and giving it water to drink. The alien accepted, drinking cautiously but steadily. For the first time in days, the human felt a sense of relief. They were safe, at least for the moment. As evening fell, the human and the alien settled into a cautious routine. He kept watch while the alien rested, speaking softly to calm its nerves. The alien, in turn, stayed close to him, offering quiet companionship. Though neither fully understood the other's language or thoughts, there was a connection deeper than words, a bond forged in trust, care, and shared danger. The human reflected on what had happened. He had taken a risk when others would have walked away. He had chosen to help a creature that everyone else feared. And now, that choice had created something remarkable. The alien, once a terrifying enemy, had become an ally, a companion, and a friend. Their journey was far from over, but he knew that together they could face whatever challenges came next. Night passed quietly, with only the sounds of the forest and distant creatures breaking the silence. The human stayed alert, but he also allowed himself moments of rest. He had learned to move calmly, to anticipate the aliens' reactions, and to communicate through patience and gestures. Every challenge they faced strengthened their bond, making them more capable of surviving together. By morning, the alien was noticeably stronger. Its breathing was steady, its movements more controlled. It followed the humans' guidance without hesitation, and there was a sense of mutual understanding between them. The humans smiled faintly, feeling a sense of hope. They had overcome fear, danger, and uncertainty together. And now, they were ready for the next stage of their journey, finding a truly safe place where the alien could heal completely. As they prepared to move again, the human gave one last look at the battlefield they had left behind. The smoke, the ruins, the silence, it was all a reminder of the dangers they had faced. But it was also a reminder of what they had accomplished. Through courage, patience, and compassion, they had survived. And now they were stronger together, ready to face whatever came next. The human and the alien had found a temporary refuge in the valley, but he knew they could not stay there forever. The alien's wounds were healing slowly, but it was still far from strong. Every movement still required care, and the surrounding forest, while offering cover, held its own dangers. Wild creatures roamed at night, and other humans or enemy forces could stumble upon them at any moment. Despite the risks, the human felt determined. He had come too far to turn back now. He packed their few supplies carefully, making sure nothing was left behind. Water, food, bandages, and a few tools were all that he could carry, but they had sustained them so far. The alien watched him closely, its glowing eyes tracking every motion. It had learned to follow his lead, responding to his gestures and voice in ways that showed it trusted him more than ever before. The bond between them had grown strong, built on days of shared struggle, fear, and careful attention. The journey ahead was not easy. They needed to move through rough terrain, rocky hills, fallen trees, and narrow paths where a misstep could be dangerous. The human led the way slowly, helping the alien step over obstacles and avoid sharp rocks. Each step was measured and deliberate, and the alien, though still cautious, followed obediently. It had become clear that it recognized the human as a guide, someone who could help it survive. As they moved through a narrow pass between two hills, the human heard the faint sound of footsteps behind them. He froze, pressing himself against a large rock. The alien stiffened, growling low in its throat. The human could see the tension in its muscles, the way it shifted, ready to defend itself. He whispered, "Stay calm. Let's see who it is." A group of humans appeared from the trees ahead. They were armed and cautious, scanning the area for threats. When they spotted the alien, they froze, fear and shock written on their faces. "It's alive," one of them shouted. "Move back. Don't get near it." The human stepped forward, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "It's hurt," he said firmly. "We're not here to fight. Leave it alone, please." The humans hesitated, unsure whether to trust him. The alien growled, low and threatening, but it did not attack. It seemed to understand the human's words and tone, and it waited, tense but restrained. The human slowly moved closer, placing himself between the alien and the approaching humans. He could feel the alien's massive body tense, ready to defend him if needed. After a tense moment, the humans lowered their weapons slightly and moved away, leaving the human and the alien alone. The human exhaled quietly, feeling a surge of relief. He had faced danger again, but this time the alien had remained calm, controlled by trust and the presence of someone it now recognized as an ally. The incident reminded him that their journey would be filled with moments like this: fear, danger, and uncertainty, but also trust and courage. The alien had learned to respond to him, to rely on his guidance, and even to restrain its natural instincts. That realization gave him hope. They were no longer just a human and a wounded creature. They were partners, capable of facing challenges together. As the day wore on, they reached a river that cut through the valley. The human knew they needed water, but crossing it would be risky. The alien's wounds made balance difficult, and the current was stronger than it looked. He assessed the situation carefully, picking a shallow area with rocks that could provide footholds. "We'll go slowly," he said. "Stay close to me, and we'll be fine." Step by step, he led the alien into the river. Water splashed around them, cold and fast, and the alien shifted nervously. The human kept one hand on its side, steadying it and guiding it along the rocks. For a moment, the alien panicked, losing its footing slightly. The human grabbed its massive arm, holding it firmly while encouraging it to stay calm. Slowly, they made it across. Both were soaked, but they had succeeded without injury. That evening, they found another shelter, hidden among thick trees. The human prepared a small area for the alien to rest, giving it water and food. It ate cautiously but steadily, showing signs of strength returning. The human sat nearby, exhausted but alert, keeping watch as the alien recovered. He could feel the bond between them growing stronger with every step, every shared moment of danger and trust. Night fell quietly, but the tension never fully left. The human had learned to anticipate the alien's reactions, and the alien had learned to anticipate his movements. Together, they moved as one through the forest, silent and careful, ready to face whatever threats might appear. As the days passed, the alien's strength grew. It began to show signs of intelligence and awareness beyond mere instinct. It would follow the human's gestures, respond to his voice, and even make subtle movements that seemed like attempts to communicate. The human watched closely, realizing that this creature, once feared by everyone, was capable of loyalty and understanding. One evening, as they were making their way through a dense section of forest, they were ambushed. A small group of hostile humans appeared suddenly, blocking their path and raising weapons. The alien tensed immediately, its growl echoing through the trees. The human stepped forward, holding his hands up. "Wait, don't shoot," he shouted. The hostile humans hesitated, unsure what to do. The alien shifted behind the human, protective but restrained. In that moment, the human realized that the alien was willing to fight for him. It had learned to trust and defend him, even while still recovering from its injuries. He spoke softly, trying to calm the situation. "We're not here to fight. We just want to pass through. Please, let us go." The tension stretched on, but finally, the hostile humans backed away, lowering their weapons. The alien growled low, a warning, but it did not attack. The human smiled faintly, feeling a surge of pride and relief. They had faced danger together, and the alien had shown its loyalty. They were no longer just traveling together. They were a team. The incident left them both shaken, but more united. The human realized that the alien's loyalty was growing, and that their bond was stronger than he had ever imagined. Trust, patience, and courage had turned a dangerous, fearsome creature into an ally, capable of understanding and supporting him in ways no human might. The journey continued. The alien grew stronger every day, moving more confidently, responding more quickly to the human's gestures, and showing intelligence in ways that amazed him. They navigated difficult terrain, avoided dangerous patrols, and found food and water where they could. The human kept watch every night, but he also allowed himself moments of rest, knowing that the alien would remain close, alert and protective. They had survived so much together, and the human knew that their greatest challenges were still ahead. Yet he felt ready. The alien had proven its loyalty and courage, and their bond was unbreakable. Together, they were capable of surviving anything the world could throw at them. By the time they reached a safer area, a hidden grove far from patrols and the chaos of the battlefield. The human and the alien could finally rest more securely. The alien lay beside him, breathing steadily, while he tended to its final wounds with care and attention. It was clear that the creature was healing, and that their shared experiences had created something extraordinary, a bond stronger than fear, stronger than instinct, and more enduring than any danger they had faced in the quiet of the grove. The human realized that their journey had changed both of them. Courage, trust, and compassion had turned a wounded enemy into a loyal companion. They were no longer just a human and an alien. They were partners, united by the trials they had endured, ready to face whatever came next. The human watched the alien carefully as it moved in the hidden grove. Days of rest, water, and food had done wonders for its recovery. Its wounds were almost fully healed, and it stood taller now, moving with a confidence that had been absent during their first encounter on the battlefield. The alien looked at him with eyes that seemed to carry more than just instinct. They held recognition, understanding, and a spark of gratitude. He approached slowly, keeping his movements calm and deliberate. "You've come a long way," he said softly. The alien made a low, gentle sound, a noise that felt like acknowledgement. The human smiled faintly. They had been through so much together, and now he could see the results of patience, courage, and compassion. What had begun as fear and distrust had transformed into trust and respect. The valley around them was quiet, peaceful even, a stark contrast to the battlefield they had left behind. Trees rustled gently in the wind, and a small stream ran nearby, providing fresh water. The human had taken care to find a place where the alien could be safe, away from other humans who might see it as a threat. Here, it could regain full strength and perhaps even learn to live without constant fear. He sat beside the alien, watching it explore the grove. Its movements were now fluid and purposeful. It sniffed the air, tested the ground, and even played gently with a fallen branch, its curiosity evident. The human laughed softly, a sound that startled the alien at first, but soon became comforting. "You're stronger now," he said, almost ready to face the world again. The alien turned its massive head toward him, and for a long moment their eyes met. There was a silent understanding between them, a recognition that they had saved each other in their own ways. The human had risked his life to heal and protect this creature, and in return, the alien had become a loyal companion, willing to follow, protect, and trust him. That bond was rare, extraordinary, and he cherished it deeply. But even as they rested, the human knew the journey was not over. The battlefield they had left behind was still dangerous, and they could not remain hidden here forever. Supplies would run out, and the alien would eventually need a safer home where he could thrive without constant vigilance. He needed a plan, but for now, he allowed himself to simply enjoy the quiet and the company of the creature he had saved. Over the next few days, he began training the alien in small ways. Not with weapons or fighting, but with guidance, teaching it to respond to gestures, to follow his lead, and to navigate the terrain safely. The alien was intelligent, and it learned quickly. Each day it moved with more confidence, exploring further from him, but always returning when called. Their trust in each other had grown so much that even the slightest sound or gesture conveyed meaning. One afternoon, as the human and the alien were exploring the edge of the grove, a distant patrol appeared, scanning the forest. The human froze, holding up a hand to signal the alien to stay hidden. The alien immediately crouched low, blending into the shadows of the trees. The patrol passed by without noticing them, and the human exhaled in relief. Moments like these reminded him how fragile their safety was, but also how powerful their bond had become. Together, they could survive threats that neither could face alone. As the days turned into weeks, the alien grew stronger, almost fully healed. It no longer limped or flinched at sudden sounds. It moved with a quiet grace, its massive frame now controlled and precise. The human noticed how it observed him constantly, as if learning not only from his actions, but also from his decisions and choices. There was intelligence there, beyond what he had imagined when they first met. The human realized that the alien might soon be ready to return to the wider world, though not yet fully. It needed guidance, patience, and continued care. He knew he could not abandon it now. The bond they had formed was stronger than fear or instinct. It was loyalty, respect, and perhaps even something deeper, a connection that transcended species and circumstance. One evening, as the sun set over the grove, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the human sat beside the alien, reflecting on their journey. He thought of the battlefield, of the fear and danger, and of the moment he had chosen to risk his life to heal a creature everyone else had abandoned. That choice had changed everything. It had turned a fearful, wounded enemy into a loyal companion. It had turned a human act of courage into a story of compassion and survival. The alien nudged him gently with its massive head, a gesture that felt almost like gratitude. The human smiled and reached out to stroke its rough skin. "You've come so far," he whispered. "I'm proud of you." The alien responded with a soft, low sound, resting its head against his shoulder. In that moment, all the fear, pain, and struggle they had endured felt worthwhile. They had survived together, grown together, and formed a bond that nothing could break. He realized something important. Courage was not only about fighting enemies or facing danger. It was about choosing life, compassion, and trust even when fear threatened to dominate. The alien had taught him that trust could bridge worlds, that compassion could create alliances even in the most impossible circumstances. Together, they had defied expectations, survived danger, and discovered a connection that was extraordinary. Over the next few days, the human continued to guide the alien, preparing it for the world beyond the grove. He showed it how to move silently, how to be aware of threats, and how to respond to his gestures for safety. The alien learned quickly, responding with a mix of instinct, intelligence, and loyalty. It was no longer just a wounded creature. It was a partner, capable of protecting itself and helping him navigate dangers they might encounter. One morning, as they looked out over the valley, the human felt a sense of hope. The alien had grown strong, agile, and aware. It was ready for the next stage of life, though he would always remain nearby, a guide, protector, and friend. They had faced death, fear, and uncertainty together, and those trials had forged a bond that neither time nor danger could break. He spoke softly to the alien. "We've done it. We've survived. And whatever comes next, we'll face it together." The alien responded with a low, rumbling sound, resting its massive head against him once more. In that simple gesture, the human understood everything. Trust, loyalty, and courage had created something extraordinary. The battlefield, and the dangers of the outside world would always exist. But in the quiet of the grove, the human and the alien had found something greater: understanding, connection, and the knowledge that any life was worth protecting. They had proven that courage and compassion could overcome fear, and that even the most unlikely beings could become allies and friends. As the sun rose higher in the sky, the human stood and looked at the alien. It moved beside him, strong and alert, yet calm. Together, they were ready to leave the grove when the time came, to face the wider world with courage and trust. But for now, they stayed, resting and healing, sharing quiet moments of peace after so much struggle. In the end, the human knew that this journey had changed him as much as it had changed the alien. He had learned that courage was about more than fighting. It was about protecting, caring, and trusting when others would not. And the alien had learned to trust, to follow. and to survive alongside someone who had seen beyond its fearsome exterior to the life and potential inside. Their story was one of survival, compassion, and the extraordinary bond between two very different beings. And in the quiet of the grove, the human knew that together they could face anything.